All right. Good evening, everyone in lovely Lunar Ladies Land. Thank you so much for joining me tonight as we talk about what's happening in the cosmos to give you a wisdom dose of happiness and joy as you go into the astral plane tonight in your dreams and wake up refreshed with this heavenly dose of wisdom that you're taking into your deep subconscious space. Yay. So I'm so happy to be here tonight and bring to you information about what's happening, especially in the wake of a very devastating, horrific, terrible thing that happened, tragedy that happened in Texas with elementary school children, adults, families, and young people, right? So I want to address that and give you insight as to the nature of when things like that happen during really powerful astrological alignments. You have to stop for a moment and ask a different set of questions because timing is everything. And there's lots of ways to look at it. And I was going through my tarot cards, and I'm very visual, so I love imagery. It helps me understand things in a new way, right? So I'm going to share some tarot cards looking at what we're experiencing here in America with the elementary school shooting, give some hopefully love and wellness into the space so that you can connect to what's happening with more of your totality of your soul, rather than the reactive place of the sadness that our personality or human self can feel when you feel powerless and broken in the face of something so awful and sad. So I want to talk about that, and it really relates to the astrological alignment that's happening tomorrow, right? Tomorrow. What's the astrological alignment? Hi, Susan. Welcome, neighbor. Hope you're doing really well. I loved your last email and I'm replying, and I think you're just so cool. And I hope you're feeling much better. So this is the point right here, right under there, and then right here to help with any sinus pressure. Susan's one of our awesome Omis. She has her set of tuning forks. She's taken the Starseed course, and she's like, I need to grab those tuning forks to help myself feel better. I'm so proud of what you're doing. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in and let's talk about the nature of the energy that we're all sitting under as an umbrella around our world, as part of being on the earth, part of the solar system, being affected by these astrological alignments. And you might wonder, especially people not in our community, but really other people that aren't as interested in astrology. When planets align, there's a wonderful way I've heard it described is that they create electromagnetic energetic fields when they come into square, which is a 90-degree angle. They come into conjunction, which is merging as one, or they go into opposition, which is creates a really a type of tension that pulls apart or smashes together, right? So contraction and expulsion kind of energy. So like they say, opposites attract, right? So we have this attraction, but then we have this pulling apart. So it can create tension in the field when we have planets merging and creating electromagnetic fields that are really about intensifying and creating tension, right? So conjunctions intensify, squares and oppositions create tension. So yesterday, we had Mars going into Aries with the moon in a conjunction, so intensified, and then conjuncting with Jupiter, another intensifying. So I had 3 planets in a conjunction, which is in astrology called a stellium. But remember, conjunctions are intensity. So we had 3 planets merging, all 3 of their natures, their vibrations, their powers, intensifying through the constellation of Aries, which is fiery. which can be out when it's out of balance, it could be violent. And so we are bearing witness to an extreme act of violence, especially whenever it happens, it's terrible. But when it happens to children, it takes on this whole other element of sorrow, because that's these innocent babes, right? We're as adults, we want to protect them, and when we can't protect them, and it feels really painful, really gets you. So just to kind of give you a sense of the electromagnetic field that was being formed by this Mars, which could be also represent youth, right? So we have the youngness of Mars, and Mars, traditionally represents the masculine. So we have this young male, I believe 18 years old, deciding or taking quick action or reactive. That's a very Mars, Aries, out of balance energy. Happen fast, violent, quick, boom, right? And it's shocking. So imagine you have the Mars, the moon, the deep core emotional self. If it's not in check, meaning it's not aware of itself and it's in an angrier state, it could easily be a activation switch for something like mayhem, chaos that we are learning about what happened. So what's happening has all the signatures of this Mars, Moon, Jupiter, which wants to expand it, energetic, being out of balance in the sign of Aries. So we can so I look at the timing of that happening and then this happening, and I'm like, they're connected, obviously very connected. And remember, there's a T-square between the lunar nodes, which is where's humanity going, evolving towards, and what does it need to unwind, right? And Scorpio is the energy it has to unwind, which in the shadow is secrets, betrayal, what's happening in the unseen world that we are as a community, or maybe even as a humanity, not quite aware of. This is kind of the energy of puppet mastery, where you're like, okay, there's something in the dark that we're not being told about. That's the secretive, shadowy energy of the South Node in Scorpio. So we get that T-squaring, or a square meaning tension to Saturn in Aquarius. And Aquarius is the group, or the group of humanity, or as well as the future. And Saturn wants to lay down the rules. So when I'm looking objectively at this experience beyond the feeling scope of how terrible it feels, I'm looking at it as going, okay, this is a moment in our collective that has a signature about more government control. And so some of us, you can go down the rabbit hole if you want. We don't have to do that, but if you're interested, let me know. I'm happy to go down the rabbit hole or take a little visit there, but I don't stay too long. But to me, it's the Saturn and if it's out of balance, it goes into this more government control energy, because Saturn constricts. And Aquarius is the group, the collective, as well as the collective group future. And Saturn wants to control it. Why? To dominate. I mean, that's out of the shadow. That's not in balance. Hi, Melanie. Welcome, beautiful. I'm just kind of going over what the astrological nature of the terrible tragedy that happened at the Robb Elementary School in Texas. So, so that's the out of balance experience of what we're witnessing or bearing witness to with an astrological lens, looking at it through the microscope. This extreme act of violence is being merged or intensified by a desire to control government regulations over populace, the collective. So just be mindful, be looking for that. And if you see it, notice it, go, I wonder if that has anything to do with the tension between Saturn and the lunar nodes. And I would say A+. Yes, it does. So how do we deal with that? Because especially if it goes out of balance, the best thing that, is for the welfare of all of us is to have it in balance or have it harmonized, right? Or how do we bring the healing and so that we can actually cure whatever disease this is, so that it's not moving into the future to happen again at another place, at another thing, right? So how do we change the pattern that's there? And I'm going to talk about that because that's what I feel this Venus square Pluto has. It bears medicine. It bears medicine. And the first thing we need to do is to really be able to own our space in this experience and ask a different set of questions so that we get a different set of answers. And then we could apply that wisdom, if we resonate, to how we engage with connecting with what's happening emotionally, physically, spiritually, and then starting to communicate with other people emotionally, spiritually, physically, based on wisdom that we can glean from asking a different set of questions. So to me, that's what astrology does. It helps me, it gives me space, emotional space. It engages another part of my psyche and soul, and it helps me ask different questions, and then I'm going to get different answer from a broader perspective of a wise old universe. Okay, so I'm going to use some tarot cards to explain what Venus square Pluto is bringing into us. And then I will ask, and I will show you the Venus square Pluto and why is it important to us to understand at this time. So here we are in this moment, having the experience. To me, this is what it feels like if I could pick an image, is the Nine of Swords, right? This is a Nine of Swords moment. The person is up at night. It's a nightmare, can't sleep, fraught with worry, and all these swords, right? Which are indications of, violence at some level, but, this energy of, what's keeping you up at night? What are you worrying about? What do you have to, you can't look at anymore? It's too painful. It's the nightmare energy. Hi, Janice, welcome. Yes, ask different questions, change the energy. Yes, ma'am, that's right. Susan shares, thank you so much. Irma asked us to be part of a World Angel Grid. Thank you, Irma. Yes, today at 4, beautiful, you participated, I love it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for doing that. And shout out to Irma K. Get in on her World Angel Grid meditations. They are very powerful, especially if you feel helpless. That's something you can do. I call it spiritual activism, and it's changing the energy. Like Janice says, if we change the energy, we change the outcome. So here we are. If we look at ourselves in the present moment, what is keeping us up at night? The nightmare, right? This is the energy moving into the future, right? So we only want to stay here for a very short time. Because if we stay here too long and we start building a field, or we engage with a field that, how many times have we been here? Colin, some of us have posted all the high school shootings in the element, Sandy Hook, Columbine, they're I think it's Parker High. I mean, there's too many, unfortunately. I mean, and the shootings at the grocery stores and Buffalo, I mean, these crazy things. At music concerts, crazy stuff. So we don't want to stay too long in the horror, because what happens when you stay too long in the horror is you bring this into the future, the dark night of the soul, right? This is the 5 of Pentacles, and this is bereft. Nothing's working, nothing's changing. We're outside the light, or the sacred ground. We're wounded, we're cold, we're wearing rags, barefoot in the snow. This is the future we create when our collective stays here too long, right? So this is kind of what's been playing out since the 90s, right? I had saw somebody on Twitter saying, you know, wow, these school shootings didn't really start taking on since till the 90s, and we've had guns in our populace for a long time, but why the 90s and forward, right? So here we can see, like, if we stay here, we're going to keep getting this energy field that keeps playing itself out over and over and over, especially when we have certain volatile alignments like Pluto, or like the moon and Jupiter and Mars in Aries. Okay, so we just have to identify, okay, this is a possibility. We're in the nightmare, we stay too long, it creates this future nightmare continuing over and over, this pattern, right? And it feels familiar to a lot of us, right? So then we kind of get sucked into that vortex. But Pluto, with Venus square Pluto, she is giving us a new opportunity. So notice the timing. Hi, Sujata. Good morning. How are you? Welcome. Thank you for being here. Notice the timing as we had the volatility of the Mars, Moon, Jupiter conjunction alignment yesterday. It's followed tomorrow by a Venus square Pluto. And I'm going to get to what the visuals that are coming from the Venus square Pluto. But let's first just talk about what it is and why it's important. So go back to December of 2021, right? I think it was the 19th. It was right around winter solstice. And that's when Venus went retrograde. So she had a retrograde journey. And when Venus goes retrograde, it's very exciting because she doesn't retrograde that often. She's not like Mercury and not even like Mars. So she retrogrades the least. So we want to pay attention when she's retrograding. It's like, stop everything you're doing and ask, what's this about? Now, Venus is important because we're at a moment that brings us to our knees and we're crying out for help, right? And Sujata, we're talking about an incident that happened yesterday in America, in the state of Texas, where there was a school shooting and 21 people, including young children, died. And so people are really in shock and feeling very sad. And the closest tarot card image I could find would be Nine of Swords, the nightmare. Okay, so Venus is about our love, our heart, our intuition. It's about our feminine energy, what we value. Yeah, so sad. So yeah, senseless, sad, and it can leave us feeling very powerless and hopeless. So Venus is arriving tomorrow in a square, meaning we get an activation, right? So in the shadow, it's creates tension, but if you understand what it is, it can create activation, meaning let's turn something new on. So Venus is coming with the help of Pluto, which is transformation, which can transform this energy. So we don't have to keep repeating it. By engaging with a different way to understand this moment now in a new way, right? So remember the Mars power, because Venus is in Venus is in Aries as well. And so I was watching a little bit of TV today, and people were some people were responding with anger towards this. Like, again, the senselessness, make it stop, it's terrible, vote new people in, and I was watching the anger part and not wanting to push it away or change it, but just noticing like that's another tell of Aries out of balance. We can be passionate, but you have to watch and we can be filled with rage, the holy rage, which is moving towards not blaming, but moving towards ending something and beginning something new. That's Aries power in the spotlight, in the highest energy. It ends things and starts things. But something new, not something old. And a lot of times, if you're going to start something new, like a new cycle of something, it starts with love. But sometimes we have to get angry and get it out, but we don't want to forget that things are born from love. That's when you're looking at how do things and people get born now on this planet through humanity. It's through the mother, right? She bears the child, and the oxytocin and all the hormones flood, and she's filled with this beautiful love if everything's in balance when she sees the baby for the first time. This oxytocin exchange, that's love when you give birth to something. It's very difficult to sustain or give something life if it's birthed through rage and anger and violence. So we just have to be mindful that, yes, let's express that in the most creative way possible, better out than in, do it in harmony with others, to be consoled by it. But if you want to give birth to something new and something old, give birth to something new, it, to me, has to be born through love, wisdom, and power in balance. Okay, so last December, Venus went retrograde. And when she went retrograde, she was conjunct, remember, intensified with Pluto in Capricorn, meaning Capricorn's like, as adults, what do we do if we choose to live with wisdom, choose to be responsive rather than reactive, right? So it's a maturing of looking at issues and coming up with new solutions. And it's usually outside the box. And I think it was Buckminster Fuller that says you can't solve or resolve an issue with the same consciousness that created the problem. You got to get a new consciousness that can seek new solutions, new answers, new ideas, and apply that to old situations to create something new. So this is thinking outside the box. And so Venus says, well, let me help. This is my moment, because I started this journey in December 2021, and I went direct during the new year, the Tibetan Chinese New Year. And so that was also a very powerful moment. So when we come, so that was when that happened, during a conjunction with Pluto. So now we look at Venus' continued relationship with Pluto throughout the year. This is like similar to a lunar cycle, right? So a lunar cycle, it has 4 phases, 4 foundational phases. A new moon, which is a conjunction, a first quarter moon, which is a square, a full moon, which is an opposition, and then a third quarter, which is a waning square, right? So now when we look at just the relation between Pluto and Venus, she has now moved away, far enough away from Pluto to come into the first quarter square. Now we have to look at, because we live in this duality world, until we get to polarity. We're getting close. It keeps popping through. It's wonderful. People are really waking up and engaging with this new way of being. But so when we get a waxing square, that means there's energy. Something's building, right? So if we can connect with this vibrational field, it will activate us. It will help move the energy along. But if we don't understand the nature of what's available and presenting itself to us, it could create tension, right? Because some of us might be really feeling this hardcore, and they're like, Shan, how do I get to love? I'm so filled with hate or rage at what's happening. I can't get to love. And that is fine. That's why it takes a village, right? Because we're all important. We all have something to add. And if we, this is when we pick each other up and we hold on tighter, right? And we help one another. So we're looking at tomorrow being a really powerful state that's going to set energy from tomorrow, May 26th to August 8th, 9th. And those of you who've been hanging out with, in the community for a while, know that August 8th is the Lion's Gate. So that's another powerful time. So that's when Venus and Pluto will be opposite. They'll be in the full moon position on the Lion's Gate. So I'm thinking we should call them lion beings. We need our Leo sisters, right? Our Leo brothers. We need those, wherever the lion beings come from, Ceres or something. We got to call on them for their expertise in this matter. So from now, or rather starting tomorrow, between tomorrow, May 26th to August 8th, 9th, we're in an activation phase, and we're looking at the 2 planets. Pluto, which is the transformation of our soul, it's that powerful. And Venus connecting to our feminine energy, our heart, what we value, what we love, our principles, our guiding, how we relate to each other. You know, what do we do in the name of love, right? Stop in the name of love. This is a supreme moment. Right, Janice? I was thinking of you when I said Leo energy. Born on the day out of time. So you can be a leader in this space, Janice. You already are. Okay, so I'm going to explain, because I'm going to show you the chart for Venus square Pluto so we can get a sense of, okay, what's this about? What's happening? But before we get there, I want to show you some imagery. So remember, this is where we are. We're in the nightmare, which stay too long, it creates the dark night of the soul. We don't want to be outside in the cold, sad and suffering. We don't want that anymore. We're like, Rick, no. Thanks for sharing, but I'm moving on. Right? Motown moment. That's what we should all play that song tonight. Stop in the name of love. So how do we stop in the name of love? Well, this card showed up first. We need this energy, the energy of temperance. And we might go, okay, what does that mean? Temperance. And I know, Janice, you got this. I think this card really speaks to you. It reminds, for some reason, I think we've talked about this. So temperance, this is Archangel, is this Michael or Raphael? I can't remember. So we have an Archangel. I believe it's Michael. Maybe it's Raphael. But anyway, see, he's got the waters, right? The waters going between the cups. So let's just look at this card for a moment. So on his chest here is Hebrew letters, that spell the unrevealed name of God. So he has God on his chest. So this is step one. How do we put the God force source energy, whatever you describe that and connect to that, put that right here on your chest, right over the thymus gland, the high heart. He has the fire triangle pointing up, right? So spirit. So he's saying, I come in the name of spirit. I come in the name of love. The cups represent emotions. Then this is the water going back and forth from the cups, right? And you can even go to your kitchen sink today or tonight and take 2 glasses of water, right? An empty one and a full one, and just pour them back and forth as a meditation. So get a cup of water, stand at the sink and pour them. And do it slowly, feel it, like merge, like what do I feel when I do this action? You're starting to tune into the temperance energy. Notice one foot's in the water and one foot's on land, right? So we have to be both in the material world and in the subconscious, emotional, or conscious water world. That's our emotions. There's a sun, there's daybreak. Sun is shining when we follow the path up the mountain. What's interesting about that is the Venus retrograde Sabian symbol that she started on when she conjuncted Pluto was a mountain pilgrimage. So we're on a journey. We are on a journey right now as souls, connecting with our hearts. And what I was getting was we are on a spiritual journey to return to our true nature, which is love and light. So how do we get there? So the archangel, so we can work with archangels if that speaks to you. But this is moving the energy back and forth. Don't be fixated on one side, good or bad. Push it together. Like, what is really happening here? Keep one foot grounded in the earthly reality, material world, but have the other foot in the water, consciousness, asking new questions, connecting to the ephemeral realm, right? Of your, and you can do that through your emotions, through dreams, through awareness. This is consciousness. And the water going back and forth between the cups is God consciousness, right? So we want to be in somewhat of a meditation around what's happening in the world and what's happening in our inner soul space. So that was the first one. The second one, when you're in that temperance moderation, feeling into it, exchanging the consciousness back and forth. You're in a different motion. It leads to the Four of Swords. And the Four of Swords is, let me lay down in repose. Let me surrender. I need to close my eyes. I need to put my hands in prayer over my heart. I need to ask. I need to listen. I need to connect. It's not a time to fight. It's a time to tune in, check in, listen for direction. All right. And then the fourth card that showed up was the Hangman. I need to see this in a different way. I need to turn myself upside down, right? I need to allow enlightenment to come by seeing things in a whole new way. Reverse, hang upside down. So that's just some imagery for us to start connecting to this Venus-Pluto activation. So when we go to the Sabian symbol for, so it's 28 degrees Aries. So if you have any planets between 23 or, within 10 degrees of 28 Aries, that's getting activated by this, as well as 10 degrees between 28 degrees Capricorn. That's the activation mode. And Venus is bringing the energy of a celestial choir. That's why I was so excited to see for Temperance to show up. I'm like, oh, the archangels they want our attention. So Venus is emanating this frequency of a celestial choir. So can you imagine if humanity stopped, checked in, listened to Motown, right? Got quiet, went into prayer mode, and started to listen. And what do we hear? Not the screaming of horror and anguish and grief, but possibly angels who are singing, right? So this is the direction for us to go is, okay, can we quiet the noise of our world out of balance? And can we tune into a higher frequency, which is born of love? So close your eyes for just a moment and imagine what it would sound like if you heard celestial choirs of angels singing. I mean, what would it sound like? How would you feel? What would you merge with? So this is step one for, okay, if I need solace and comfort, right? Janice, the music of the spheres, Susan, celestial choir. Yes, exactly. My thoughts exactly. This is the music of the spheres, right? And what's music but harmony? And what's harmony but balance, right? That Temperance card. This is card of balance. Temperance. Can we get out of the crazy, the noise, the chaos, to find the power of temperance within ourselves, within our soul's landscape? It's there. It's your inherent nature. To me, humanity, the true energy and essence of humanity is angelic. Like where, some of us, we can still see their wings. We know those earth angels, right? I see your wings. But all of us have wings. So, and Pluto, so this is Venus. And remember, Venus is your inner heart's language, love, beauty, relationship. Let that space within you merge with the music of the spheres and those celestial choirs. Now, Pluto is bringing the imagery of a woman reading tea leaves. And so what that image is about, it's the direction is listen to your intuition. What do you see, right? Through symbols, through imagery, through signs, through synchronicities. Begin looking at your world through signs and symbols, through intuition. What are you noticing? So pay attention to your dreams. Pay attention to your gut feeling. Develop and honor and trust your intuition. And that will be much more easy to do if you're not in fight mode, but in surrender, those angelic choirs of the music of the spheres mode. So that's the activation principle that we can tap into that's really, really, really powerful right now. So when let me share my screen because I want to show you the chart because there's two groups of helpers that are helping Venus, and then we have a group helping Pluto. So this is kind of your support system over the next 3 months from May 26th to August 8th, the Lion's Gate. Let me share my screen. And let's just briefly look at the chart. So here is an event chart, Venus square Pluto, happening tomorrow at 11:30 p.m. here in California. So for some of you on the East Coast, or like Sujata, she's in beautiful India, it'll be later, depending on your time zone. This is based on California time. So here we have, let's find Pluto. Here's Pluto, 28 degrees in retrograde, meaning it's in review, in reverse, looking back, reviewing. That's why I'm like, go back to December. And I have my blog post if you want to look at that. It was a really powerful Venus retrograde because of the timing of it with Pluto and the timing of her going direct with the new year. Okay. And then here's Venus right here, 28 degrees Aries. So they're in the square. So they're both emanating the energy of 28. So you see those red lines. That's Pluto to Venus. Now notice that the moon just goes into Taurus tomorrow. And when we were looking at the Mars into Aries chart, the moon was right at 0 degrees Aries. So here's the moon 2.5 days later, picking up potent power by moving into Taurus at 0 degrees. The timing is awesome. So back to my favorite temperance card. The Sabian symbol for 0 degrees Taurus is a clear mountain stream. Where are we? We're in a clear mountain stream in that card. So the moon is changing phases. It's returned to the balsamic or ending phase of the Taurus lunar cycle. And this is called the ancestors moon. So call upon your ancestors. And if you don't know who your ancestors are, beyond like grandma, grandpa, great grandma, grandpa, go 1,000 years back. And if you can have no concept of who and what they might be like, what do you resonate with? Where do you feel called to in the world? If you know your cultural background, then go into that culture, but go 1,000 years back. We want these old ancestors, way before trauma came into your family tree. So we have the ancestors here merging with a Venus to help us return to our true inherent nature, which is love. So I just wanted to, I thought that was really important for looking at the timing of things. But Venus here has a helper. And the helper is found when we go into its sextile, meaning 60 degrees away from Aries, we find Saturn, which was sitting in the T-square between the lunar nodes. But Saturn wants to lend itself to Venus as a helper. And Saturn's frequency is the image of a hydrometer. And what that means is a hydrometer measures the tempo. And he's saying, I'm measuring the temperature energy of the field of the collective, as well as where is the collective going into the future? Is it going and staying in the nightmare? Or is it going to go into a new space that's born of a new set of circumstances, meaning merging with a higher frequency of love? So Saturn is saying, I'm helping the shift and change of the future by supporting Venus in our lives to return to love as best we can. And the angels say, just close your eyes and listen to the singing. That will bring your frequency up and merge with a higher source, divine intervention. And if you pray, pray. The moon says, if you were part of a religious group, that's great. Pray. Pray for yourself, pray for your neighbors, pray for your family, pray for your communities, pray for your world, pray for humanity. But the moon says there's energy and power when you connect to your ancestors because they want to help. They're sitting here in the background going, we have original wisdom. And we're more connected to the earth before cell phones, before internet, before electricity, before all these kind of new technologies. They go to the ancestors that lived in harmony with the earth. They're going to give you a whole different perspective, and they're going to help. So they're saying, get into that earth-based connection to change the frequency of the future for the collective, because Saturn's measuring it for you. And we're seeing, wow, the temperature of the collective right now is violence, senseless. We want that to change, but we have to birth it through a higher consciousness that's connected to divine love. So let's see who's helping Pluto. So who's helping Pluto is very interesting. It's actually Mercury, and Mercury's in retrograde. So they're both looking back. They're both in review. Mercury is in a earth trine, right? So returning to that earth, returning to the who we were through our ancestral eyes when we lived one with the earth. So in this energy, we also find the asteroid Sedna. And Susan's going to love Sedna. She's our Sedna goddess in our community. I'm so grateful that Susan brings her beautiful self and her ancestors, because this is where Sedna comes from, right? So thank you, Susan, for bringing your love and your good energy and your wisdom and your joy into our space, our sacred space. So Sedna is saying, I'm at 29 degrees. I am ready, karmic destiny, to shift into Gemini, meaning into a new journey. But I want to clear the travesties, the pain, the suffering that occurs when we're in the body on the earth. Sedna love, that's right. We love Sedna. Talk about power goddess. I've never met a power goddess as powerful as she is. And I'm saying that through, I had a friend, she's so beautiful, she has passed on, but I really, really love Jean. She had a Sedna gong, and she used to do Sedna sound healing treatments, and I would go to her, I went to her weekly, she was in Emeryville, and she would play the Sedna gong in a small room. I think I broke it to a million pieces and then got stitched back together by Sedna. It was the most powerful gong sound I've ever felt and heard. So deep, 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 and old wisdom and power and love of the feminine. So Sedna is here helping Mercury. And Mercury, the imagery that Mercury is offering is to Pluto, because remember, trines are in harmony. They're just dancing. They don't got any issues. They're like, we're having a good old time over here. Join the fun. So I'm like, yes, let's merge that Mercury, right? Our mind in retrograde, meaning let's take a mental break. We need a mental break. In Taurus says, go outside, watch those birds flip and fly. And, we had fun. I had fun today with two friends, Lainey and Blue, and we were cracking up at the crows. And I said, oh my God, I love to come sit in the park because I have a healthy population of crows, and it's a telenovela every day. you know who's partners, who's not, who's having an issue with somebody today. They got too close to their nest. Like, it is fun times to sit and watch the crow world. I learned so much, but it definitely sometimes feels like a telenovela. Good soap opera stuff. So spend some time outside, connecting with nature, get a mental break, especially now when our minds are, we could seriously fall apart from what's happening. And if we just tune into it mentally, emotionally, it's too insane. But that's why we need different frequencies to tune into. So Sedna is appearing as a peacock parading in an ancient castle. So look at that beauty. So again, the bird totems, the spirit animals, they're there to help us. But at this degree, Mercury, I thought this was really interesting, especially looking at the Venus activation. Like we're being activated by, yes, return to that love field. That's where the power is. It's not in, shouting for change. That's too Mars, out of balance. Let's go into a deeper set of wisdom roles that's connected more to those celestial higher frequencies of love. We're going to get our answers that will create lasting change. So Mercury has this image of a woman, right? So I'm like, ooh, ding, 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 ding. Mercury, you're talking about Venus, aren't you? It's a woman being pursued by a mature love. So I was like, oh yeah, that's so Capricorn, maturity. And we're being asked to step up to be more spiritually grown up rather than spiritually arrestedly developed and reactive. Let's mature. Let's seek. If we want soul transformation, our minds have to mature. And sometimes it's, and Mercury saying, just slow that mind down, slow the roll. You're not going to get anything new if you're running mentally at 1,000 miles an hour and looking at this website and that Twitter feed and this. And take a break from social media. Tune into the world, the inner world wide web within the self. Go outside, be in nature, be in the quiet, and find the beauty. Be pursued by wisdom, is what it's saying. Allow your mind to be pursued by wisdom. So close your eyes for a moment and imagine that, your beautiful mind is being pursued by wisdom. And you're like, oh, why would I run away from wisdom? I'm like, you can catch me. So go on a date with wisdom, right? Let yourself be wined and dined by wisdom. That's where you're going to get merged into a really powerful alignment that's going to help you. Right? So I'm going to do something. I'm going to stop my screen share. I want to show you something really cool, but I don't want you to freak out. I'm going to show you a relationship chart. So I don't want you to worry like, oh my God, that is crazy astrology. And like, it's not so bad. But I really saw something very cool that I want to share with you. And then I'll end our nighttime astrology for tonight or in the morning for Sinastri. I just want to do it off screen here because you don't want to see me going through all these files. You'll be like, okay, so let's get to the Venus. So I'm going to put a relation chart between Venus retrograde from December and the Venus square Pluto from tomorrow. Let's see where it's Venus. Taking my eyes. Okay, it should be here. Oh, there. No. Talk amongst yourselves. Any questions? Feel free to share any questions in the chat box. Oh, there it is. All right, so let's look at this. And I'll break it down to make it easy, but I thought it was really interesting, again, to help us ask different questions, get different answers, and change the future for the collective. Okay, so here is what's called a Sinastri chart, right? And we have Venus retrograde from December 2021 in red on the outside, and then in the inside in blue circle is tomorrow's event chart. Okay, so I'm just going to point out a few things. We don't have to do a whole reading of the chart, but I thought this was really interesting. So the first thing I noticed was in the Venus retrograde chart was right here. This is Mars, because who's the star of today? Mars. We want Mars in balance. So during the Venus retrograde initiation, Mars was hanging out with the South Node, and the South Node was in Sagittarius, not in Scorpio yet. And Mars was hanging out there in the review, in the reflection. And in that space, these two signatures were about wisdom and acknowledging the white caps on the ocean. So Mars was presenting as the image of an old wise owl in a tree. So we're up above, looking down, and 360 view and looking around. And the south node was what we were seeing was an ocean with white caps, meaning a stormy ocean. I thought that was really interesting. But the wise owl, Mars, our activated energy, he was more subdued in Sagittarius. So that's a remedy for this Mars and Aries time, because he'll be in Aries for a little while, for at least a month and a half. We want to connect with Mars through Sagittarius. That's a bigger picture. And that's from a bigger point of view. So it's less reactive. He's more spiritual in this energy. And we're to unwind that south node energy, which we're seeing in that Scorpio of death and destruction. Another interesting thing was the sun. That day when Venus went retrograde, December 19th, 2021, where were you, right? The sun was exact the galactic center. The galactic center. So the sun, what gives us life, was giving us life from the wisdom of the galactic center. So again, that's how we activate this Mars power to change, is going into wisdom and the galactic center. So I thought that was really cool, especially to diffuse volatile energy. Janice shares, my natal Mars and my natal south node are the same degree to, ooh, very interesting. So you really understand this energy, Janice. You've got this conjunction in your natal chart, but in Scorpio, which you're getting a Scorpio return. So you're in your, what's called your lunar nodal return. But you're towards the end of it. So probably more towards the end of this year, maybe into next year, you'll have an exact conjunction. And that's it happens every 18 to 19 years. So Janice, think back about 18, 19 years ago, what was happening in your life? This is a really powerful time for you when we have the lunar nodes return to the signs they were when we were born. It's also a time to level up, and you've got support from the cosmos to do it. So yay, I'm so happy for you. So yeah, so you know this Mars South Node alignment. Sometimes our power can be in the past. So if we go to the past and do our spiritual work, it releases all the gifts to come forward into our life now. So the next really interesting thing, I went to here, because you know how we're utilizing Saturn. Out of balance is going to be control from, trying to take guns away and control, and and I'm like, remember temperance. I don't think we need to take all the guns away, because I think that's what makes America America. It's good to have balance, but we need to look at why are they too accessible, and why are they these types of guns? Let's, come on. Let's really get some good sense here. But again, that's thinking from the consciousness that created this energy. I need to think outside the box. But I'm practicing temperance in that space of pro-gun, no. Anti-gun, no. How about a little bit of each? Until further notice, till we get a higher galactic center awareness and wisdom coming in. So notice that Jupiter is conjuncting, Jupiter, where it was in December, was 25 degrees Aquarius. So it hadn't even gone into Pisces yet. Let's see, Jupiter, 25 degrees Aquarius. Where's Saturn today? 25 degrees Aquarius. So we have a conjunction. They have merged. So in sound healing, when you play the Saturn fork with the Jupiter fork, it's called the Buddha's path, meaning the path of having access to everything and being attached to none of it. It's living in the world, but not of the world, right? Again, kind of reminiscence of the Temperance card. So again, that's the hydrometer. What are we measuring? And so to me, this is a really powerful reminder that let us walk that spiritual path of contraction, which means focus and discipline and devotion, and expansion, like being open to it all, right? And finding your space, finding, you know, where are you sitting? So this is again a reminder to measure your emotions, measure your consciousness. Are you in the nightmare, or are you practicing maybe being the hangman upside down, or Four of Swords in repose, surrender, or the temperance, looking at both sides and moving a higher consciousness through your body and your emotions? Okay, that I thought was very cool. So this is measuring the future of this Venus Pluto conjunction cycle, right? Because it's going to have 4 phases. It's going to have a first quarter, which is tomorrow. It's going to have a full moon phase in August, and it's going to have a third quarter phase. I didn't look that one up. So interesting. Totally, Janice. All right. So the next really interesting alignment is Kyron, the wounded healer. And today, in December, Kyron was 5 degrees Aries. And today or tomorrow, Mars and Jupiter will conjunct at 2 degrees Aries. So this is telling me that we are healing something really old in our blood, our blood, right? Our bloodlines. That's Aries, the body, the blood. Is our blood vibrating with the God energy, or is it vibrating with the destructive, animalistic, no God energy? Right. So it's I feel like the Jupiter Saturn is really measuring that. Like, are you merging with, that kind of divine frequency, or are you merging no divine at all, like the nihilistic version? Like, where is that what's the measurement of that in the bloodlines? Right. We're healing the divine I am presence through this empowerment of Jupiter and Mars. Hi, Lisa. Welcome. Oh, I hope you. I will post the whole episode when we're done here, so you can watch it from the beginning. Okay, the next thing. So this is the time of healing old wounds. And what wounds? I am presence. You are worthy. Remember what Venus says. Self-worth, self-deservingness, knowing your value. That's what we're healing individually. And together we heal it collectively. But we each have to do our own individual work. And remember, Venus is love, the higher heart. Okay, so let's go into the moon. So here's the moon, 0 degrees Taurus. But on December 19th, 2021, it was 0 degrees Cancer. So this is where I was feeling like, oh, wow, we're giving birth to something, that mother's love. And right now we have the black moon in Ceres. Ceres is the biggest asteroid, the great mother asteroid. Moon, home in Cancer, is the sign of the divine mother. The black moon is our power that's been bound as women, all merging. So this is freeing the power of the divine mother energy. And, at some level, because what happened involves children, it fires us up with that mama bear, papa bear energy. Like this is the ending of it. This is, to me, feels like the most powerful time to end this type of cycle in our collective. So the moon is helping us tune into our core root self, reminding us that optimism nourishes us, right? Because remember, back to my cards. I'm going to just stop my screen share so you can see. If we stay in the nightmare, right? Stay in the nightmare, we're going to get the dark night of the soul over and over and over and over and over again. But if we get out of the nightmare, we also get out of the dark night of the soul. Where do we go if we're not in the nightmare? We're going to hang out with some very different friends. Let's hang out with these guys. This is not going to create a nightmare. Guaranteed. All right. So the moon and the black moon and Ceres are saying, no more nightmare. Optimism is your friend. Optimism is your friend. How can you be more optimistic, even if it's just in this moment? Write a sticky note, stick it on your computer, on your phone, on the refrigerator, wherever you are, bathroom mirror. How can I be more optimistic right in this moment or today? And what is that look like and feel like? Okay. One more thing that I think is really interesting. So we go to Mercury retrograde in the December 21 chart. Whoops, Mercury. Oh, he wasn't retrograde, he was direct. So Mercury in December during the Venus retrograde chart was 5 degrees Capricorn, right? So and remember, he's helping out Pluto right now with the ancestors being wined and dined by wisdom, showing the peacock feathers of your divinity, right? And he was so close to Juno, the goddess of marriage and partnering. So mentally partnering with this energy to create a new mental body foundation, a new structure for your mental body. Now, notice this green line. This green line is a finger of God or electrical impulse coming in from the higher realms. And it's hitting the sun tomorrow at 5 degrees Gemini, right? So this is about going like drilling into the mind to strike gold, right? It's called drilling for oil. And you know what that's a symbol of is the deeper you can go, the richer you will be, right? You'll strike that oil well, the black gold. So Mercury, the sun in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, it's a lightning bolt into helping us create a new mental foundation, to deal with these tragedies in a more insightful, mature, spiritually mature, awake way for ourselves. Then we start talking with another person or sharing in our communities. And it starts to help people, spark them into a new understanding and a new desire for change that's born from love. So I thought that was really interesting. We got to ground. It's just a reminder that says ground this time right now in a spiritual way. Our minds are being impulsed from the higher realms of love to restructure a new foundation for our mental body. And why is our mental body important? Our mental body is the fuel that creates and manifests. It all starts in the quantum, the realm of thought, which is our mind. And Mercury is the magician there. So we need a new mental focus. And the moon's saying, well, try optimism, right? Try those angels that are singing in the heavens, right? Read some tea leaves, meaning look for your signs, look for your symbols, look for the knowing this, that you're not alone. You divinely connected to angels, guides, power animals, source energy, right? The angel going back and forth in temperance. So we have to remember that the overall theme is, according to Venus, who had merged with Pluto on December 19th, 2021, she's telling us that journey was a reminder that we are all together on this, and each one of us is on a spiritual journey, and that makes humanity on a spiritual journey to go where? Up that mountain pilgrimage, to return to the source of love, right? We're in that pilgrimage, getting to the light, right? Through consciousness, being in both worlds, embodying the power of temperance. That's what's going on, people. That's what's happening in the cosmos tonight. So I tell you this, it's happening on tomorrow, but I tell you it tonight so you can start to merge with this energy and this wisdom and plan accordingly, because we create our tomorrow by tuning in tonight. The day begins the night before. Lisa shares, like I have been working on my mindset for a while. Yay, good job. And since the eclipse and this retrograde, I started thinking more negative again. That's okay. Interesting, makes sense. Yay! I love that you love this. It makes me happy. So yeah, so thank you for sharing that, because it's okay if we catch ourselves thinking negative thoughts. It's okay. Applaud, standing ovation that you caught yourself. Right? That's half the game. That's 99% of the game, is just to become aware. Because when you can become aware, you've stepped off this roller coaster ride, this merry-go-round, and you can take a breath, recenter, go, what's going on? Oh, right? And then remember, ask and it shall be given. If you need assistance, go, is there angels who love and root for my spiritual joy and evolution? Are you available to help me right now? And then I swear, you will get something awesome coming your way. And you're like, I am not alone. No, you're not alone. You have all of us here, definitely. You're not alone in the universe. You're not alone in your soul's eternal journey through the cosmos. You are not alone. So we'll keep revisiting this, but this is what's happening tomorrow. You're getting activated. We're all getting activated. And it's in play until we hit that Venus opposite Pluto, August 8th, 9th. So we'll keep returning to this. We'll keep checking in, right? And don't worry. I'll be back. We have a new moon. When's the new moon? New moon is Monday. Ooh, let's do some Monday fun. What's today? Wednesday. Maybe if you're around, I'll do another live this week. What's really interesting too. So if you're wondering, like, where's she getting all this info? I think everybody needs the wee moon. Wee moon. Because every day it gives you astrological alignments and their time. This is where I'm getting the info. So just so you know, May 25, it shows you also the lunar phases. Where's the moon? So we're in a waning moon. Tomorrow we hit balsamic phase, meaning we're ending the Taurus lunar cycle that started April 30th. And next Monday, and then you get this cool artwork, you get stories, you get poems. This is like, I always get sad when I have to like discard them at the end. Next Monday, May 30th, new moon in Gemini, new cycle. And then during this new cycle, June 3rd, down here, Mercury goes direct. So this is our topics for next week. New moon, Gemini, starting a new cycle. And then we got Mercury goes direct. It's gonna be fun. Yes, Wonder Twin powers activate. Full moon, the wee moon, shape up the wisdom. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining together. Oh, Lisa did a quote from Dr. Wayne Dyer. When you change the way you look at things, I love that. The things you look at change. That is such Mercury medicine right there. So find your Mercury medicine. Like when you take a words and you just kind of switch them around and the whole meaning changes, right? Janice had said that too. Change the energy, change the future, right? Yeah, good times ahead. That's right. Optimism. Everybody gets a gold star tonight for optimism. So write something down tonight or say it to yourself or focus on optimism tonight before you go to bed. Sujata, say it today as you start your morning. What's something optimism you can focus on before you go to bed, or because they'll be with you when you wake up. Optimism. And if you get so inspired and you want to share your optimism with us in the Lunar Ladies Lifestyle Group, create a post. Right? We'd love to receive of your optimism because it inspires us to maybe we're like, yeah, I really resonate with that optimism. I'm gonna put that into my field. Then we'll do that. Thanks to you. All right. Thanks so much for joining. Thanks for staying. I'll make a YouTube link if you want to share this information with your friends and family. Feel free. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, Lunar Ladies, Go to YouTube, put Lunar Ladies in. There is a fake one out there. But feel free to subscribe to the channel. Is where I post all the videos as well as doing some other stuff over there. But yeah, be glad to have you as a subscriber. Okay, thanks so much, everybody. Sweet dreams. I can't wait to hear what happens as you are pursued by wisdom. You might have to watch this video a couple times. I think I'm gonna watch it too, because I'm like, ooh, there's a lot of good, yummy stuff in here. I need to like sit with that. All right, see you in the astral tonight. And I'll be back for the new moon next week in Gemini and Mercury going direct. Let me know if you have questions. Feel free to post them if you think they'll benefit others in the lifestyle group. And I'll do my best to answer them as quickly as possible. All right. Thank you. Good night.